Hi, I'm Alex Pollock. Welcome to another Update Plus. This week, the topic is US exceptionalism. A lot of people have been asking about whether the exceptionalism that you see on show in the Mag 7 can continue. It is at the crossroads. There are a number of issues. We will unpack them right now. But first, US exceptionalism, its enablers, how it manifests in business, what Trump means, and what next is what we're going to cover in this brief chat. So, exceptionalism is undergirded politically, in the first instance, by four elements: free speech, free enterprise, rule of law, and democracy. Any less, and you kind of get a version of exceptionalism maybe, but you don't get the whole enchilada if you follow my drift. You need to have all four in order to create the environment of exceptionalism for companies to then grow. So, let's have a quick look at what exceptionalism means. So this is the GDPs to 100 of the European economies on the bottom, America next, and China at the top. And you can see the growth there in GDP from a 100 base of these countries. You would expect companies within these countries to harvest some of this exceptional growth, but in fact, what happens is that exceptionalism results, and globalization that follows from it, results in the creation of very significant value in the US. And what really happens here is that US companies, because of the exceptionalism that they have, harvest the GDP growth of other economies like Europe, like China, etc. And emerging markets. So that's the point, right? Exceptionalism enables companies to grow globally and harvest the GDP of other countries around the globe. So the US is home to the largest, 9 of the 10 largest companies in the world. And that is, kind of exceptional, right? And what we know about that is that NVIDIA is a $4 trillion company, the largest company in the world. Apple and Microsoft are not far behind. And then Meta, with 3.5 billion users around the world, that is 10 times the US population. So these companies have gone global, and it's the US that's enabled, the US exceptionalism politically that's enabled that growth to happen. And just, by way of kind of driving the point home, these exceptional companies are almost all domiciled in that tiny little blue dot that's marked there, which is the state of Delaware, which is considered to have the friendliest and most pro-business regime. So based in Delaware, domiciled in Delaware, but global in nature, and that is the real kicker. So, but we have a problem right now, and the problem is the things that enabled US exceptionalism, being the US Constitution, the separation of powers, those things are under threat by the current administration. It was never the case that the Justice Department was instructed in the US by the president to commence legal actions, but we sort of have this environment happening right now where the US, where the executive, obviously the president, the administration, is taking over a lot of the ruling that was previously done by Congress and the Senate. And that is the breakdown of the separation of powers that undergirds exceptionalism. So the principal assault, so what we know then about this is, although the government and the political climate is under threat as a result of the administration, that hasn't really trickled into yet the change to US exceptional companies. So we've got political changes happening, that's fine, but the US companies are going about their business, so to speak, without having been really affected by this breakdown in the in the Constitution and the breakdown in the separation of powers that enable their exceptionalism to thrive. So, just by way of understanding this, US Constitution is the world's longest surviving written charter, and it will likely withstand these attacks, we believe. It will likely withstand these attacks. So, for 1,000 flowers to bloom, you need, as we said, free speech, free enterprise, rule of law, and democracy. These conditions remain robust in a business sense, though under some threat politically, but you would not bet against this exceptionalism that we see in companies. You wouldn't bet against that continuing. In other words, it's pretty much business as usual in an exceptional group of companies that are investable. Thanks. I'm Alex Pollock. I'll see you next time. This has been Update Plus.